You were never trying to create a new reality. You were only trying to remember the one that was already waiting for you. There exists a version of you who already lives the life you keep, imagining effortlessly. They don't doubt, they don't chase, they don't seek signs from the universe, because they are the sign. They are the proof that it already happened. When you close your eyes and visualize, you're not daydreaming, you're tuning your frequency, aligning your inner signal to the coordinates of that self. Every image you see in your mind is not fantasy. It's a broadcast from another version of you, a whisper across timelines. Most people keep asking the universe when, but the universe doesn't know time, it only knows vibration. And vibration is not created by effort. It's remembered through presence. You were conditioned to believe you need to manifest, to ask, to wait. But the truth is, asking creates distance. Wanting confirms lack. The moment you need it, you separate from it. The universe never withholds what you are ready to embody. It only mirrors the version of you that's most dominant in your field right now. If you want to experience something different, you don't fight your current reality, you simply change the station. Every emotion you feel, every thought you repeat is a password to a parallel self. And when your energy matches the frequency of that identity, the universe has no choice but to rearrange itself to meet you there. You don't chase alignment. You remember it. You don't attract abundance. You return to it. You don't manifest reality. You shift into it. The only question left is, how long will you keep pretending you're not already the one you're trying to become? Reality was never solid. It only appears that way because point of view for too long. Like a song stuck on repeat, your perception keeps looping the same melody of thoughts, emotions, and reactions, and you call that consistency your life. But reality isn't fixed. It's reflective. It's a mirror made of vibration, constantly rearranging itself to echo the state of your consciousness. Whatever you believe yourself to be, confident or insecure, abundant or lacking, that becomes the lens through which the universe must respond. Every time you say, "This is who I am," you cast a spell, and that spell instructs existence to build scenery that proves you right. You think you're observing life, but life is actually observing you, waiting for your next declaration. The universe listens to emotional signatures, not words. If your words say "I'm ready," but your frequency hums with doubt, the field reads the vibration, not the sentence. You can't out-talk your own energy. This is why nothing changes when you affirm something you don't yet believe. The statement only bounces off the surface of a field that doesn't recognize its tone. Change happens not when you speak a new truth, but when you become it quietly. Imagine your inner state as light passing through a prism. The clearer the light, the purer the color of your reality. But the more you filter it with fear, guilt, or expectation, the duller the projection becomes. You keep thinking the prism is broken, when it's only covered with fingerprints of old emotion. To shift realities, you don't fix the mirror. You cleanse the reflection. You remove the static, the noise, the false stories that distort your broadcast. When your energy becomes clear again, the external world snaps into a sharper resolution. You begin to notice coincidences, but they're not coincidences. They're feedback loops, confirming that you've entered a different frequency band of self. And that's the secret almost no one tells you. You don't need to chase a better reality. You only need to stop resonating with the old one. There is a moment that exists between thought and form. It's the gap between observation and manifestation. And in that gap, everything you've ever desired already exists in potential. You've been taught to believe that life unfolds in a straight line. That time moves forward and you move with it. But the truth is far stranger. Time isn't a river carrying you downstream. It's an ocean, and you are the current deciding which waves to ride. Every possibility, every outcome, every version of you already floats in that sea of potential. The act of observation, of focused awareness, is what collapses one wave into your now. So when you say, "This is my reality," you're not describing the truth. You're defining the frame through which truth must appear. The universe doesn't respond to effort. It responds to attention. Where focus goes, energy condenses. That's why obsession is dangerous, and it magnifies the unwanted. And surrender isn't weakness, it's clarity. When you stop grasping, the field can finally stabilize around the frequency of peace. Think of your consciousness as a lens. The sharper the focus, the quicker the collapse of potential into form. But focus blurred by doubt keeps every outcome half-formed, suspended in limbo. You keep waiting for proof, not realizing that your waiting is the delay. Reality is interactive. It doesn't just show you something. It asks, who are you while looking at me? And whatever answer you give, unconsciously or not, rewrites the scene in real time. This is why those who live in gratitude seem lucky. Their observation is tinted with completion, so the field responds with more reasons to feel complete. Gratitude is the most magnetic frequency, not because it manipulates the universe, but because it tells the field I already have. And once the field hears I already have, it collapses around that vibration and mirrors it into existence. That's when miracles stop being miracles. They become symmetry. So remember, the world isn't happening to you. It's collapsing through you, one conscious observation at a time. You've been reliving echoes, not experiences. Every morning, the moment you open your eyes, you call it waking up, but it's more like logging in. Your brain boots up old memories, old patterns, old emotions, and like code running on autopilot, your identity reloads. That identity is the bridge that keeps you locked to the same timeline, because reality doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you do. But most people don't wake up to a new self. They wake up to the old story, reciting it again and again until the universe has no choice but to echo it back. Every emotion is a frequency, every belief a command, and when your internal code says, I'm still that same person, the quantum field simply nods and rebuilds the same simulation around you. Not out of cruelty and out of consistency. Reality mirrors identity. You think your past defines you, but in truth, your attachment to the past recreates it. Your brain fires the same networks, your body releases the same chemicals, and your field stabilizes around the same frequency signature. That's why change feels impossible, because your body has memorized your story more deeply than your mind has. To shift timelines, you don't fight your habits. You outgrow the identity that feeds them. You stop asking, how do I change? And start asking, who would I be if I already had? Because the moment you decide who that version is, how they breathe, speak, think, walk, you start sending new data into the field. And the field adjusts instantly. This isn't pretending. It's remembering. You're not faking confidence. You're reactivating the blueprint of the self that already embodied it. You're not chasing abundance. You're syncing with the version of you who's forgotten what lack even feels like. Every day you stand at a fork in the quantum landscape. One path loops the old identity. The other unlocks the next one. The universe doesn't choose for you. It only amplifies whichever self you commit to being today. So ask yourself before you take your next breath. Are you waking up to your past or remembering your future? At the edge of awareness lies a silence so deep that most people never touch it. They fill it with noise, thoughts, scrolling, talking, anything that keeps them from hearing what stillness is trying to say. Because in that silence, the illusion of control disappears. And that's what terrifies the ego the most, the idea that it was never in charge. The field doesn't respond to effort. It responds to surrender. You've been conditioned to believe that letting go means losing power. But the truth is reversed. Letting go is how power returns. It's how energy, trapped in loops of resistance, finally starts to move again. When you stop forcing outcomes, you release the tension that keeps potential locked. Reality flows again. You start noticing synchronicities, numbers aligning, faces reappearing, moments echoing each other like coded messages. The logical mind calls them coincidences, but the field calls them confirmations. You see, consciousness is like water. The tighter you try to hold it, the quicker it slips through your fingers. But when you open your palm, when you allow, it gathers naturally, only drawn by gravity, not by struggle. That's how energy works. That's how manifestations materialize, not through chase, but through coherence. Coherence isn't about control. It's about harmony. It's when thought, emotion, and action begin to vibrate in the same rhythm. It's when your words stop contradicting your feelings, and your body stops resisting your mind. In that moment, you're no longer a fragment. You become a field. And when you become the field, reality stops being something you enter. It becomes something that emanates from you. This is why meditation isn't a ritual. It's a recalibration. It tunes you back to the default frequency, peace, the original language of the universe before words distorted it. Every time you return to stillness, the static fades. You remember that there was never anything to attract, only something to align with. You remember that the future isn't coming, it's calling. And the more you quiet the noise, the louder that call becomes. The field never forgets you. It only waits for you to remember that you and it were never separate. Transformation isn't mystical. It's biological. Your body is a living record of your past. Every memory, every reaction, every repeated emotion leaves an imprint in your nervous system, and over time those imprints become programs. You don't just think your thoughts. Your body feels them before your mind even notices. That's why real change doesn't start in your head. It begins in your chemistry. When you live in survival, stress, fear, anxiety, your body floods itself with the hormones of the past. And the longer you live that way, the more addicted you become to that emotional signature. You start needing familiar pain just to feel normal. So even when you decide to change, the body whispers, "No, stay here. It's safer." It doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about predictability. And until you teach it otherwise, it will keep dragging you back into the same timeline. To become someone new, you must train your body to trust a future it can't yet see. You must memorize new emotions, peace before success, gratitude before evidence, love before reason. Because when the body starts to feel what the mind has envisioned, the field begins to listen. That's when potential becomes tangible. Your cells don't know the difference between imagination and reality. The moment you feel the new frequency, your biology starts broadcasting it. Your brain rewires, your heart rhythm synchronizes, your electromagnetic field expands. And the universe, that intelligent mirror, reflects it back through events, people and opportunities that match your new signal. This is the science of becoming. You don't wait for proof to believe. You believe until proof appears. You don't pray for miracles. You practice coherence until miracles feel inevitable. It's not magic. It's alignment, consciousness reshaping matter through emotional consistency. The world outside bends to the world within, because every thought is architecture and every feeling is fuel. So stop asking, when will it happen? Start asking, how often can I feel it until it does? That's how you evolve timelines, not by chance, but by chemistry. Faith isn't belief without proof. It's emotional evidence felt before logic can catch up. It's the frequency of completion that tells the field, this already exists. When you hold that vibration, the universe organizes itself to confirm you. Most people misunderstand faith. They think it's hope. But hope looks forward. Faith looks inward. Hope says, I wish. Faith says, I remember. The field doesn't respond to begging. It responds to being. When your inner state radiates certainty, reality rearranges around that signal like iron filings to a magnet. You don't command it, you become it. Faith begins where sight ends. When logic stops drawing the map, intuition takes over the compass. That's the moment creation moves from probability to inevitability. Because the quantum field doesn't speak English or numbers, it speaks resonance. And faith is the purest resonance there is. Every master who ever transcended limitation did it the same way. They felt it first. They tuned to the end result before the world caught up. Jesus called it knowing. Buddha called it detachment. Science calls it coherence. Different names, same field. The trick is emotional endurance, holding the signal long enough for matter to crystallize around it. The old self will protest. It will search for proof, for validation, for safety. But the new self breathes differently. It doesn't negotiate with doubt. It simply out-vibrates it. When you choose faith over fear, the body begins to relax. Your heartbeat synchronizes with possibility. Your electromagnetic field expands. And in that expansion, invisible doors start to appear. A message, a meeting, a moment that feels too precise to be random. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Reality whispering, stay here. You've tuned correctly. Faith is not a mindset, it's a maintenance frequency. Hold it long enough, and the impossible forgets it was ever impossible. You've started to notice it, haven't you? Moments that stretch like eternity or vanish like a dream. Minutes that dissolve into hours, or hours that feel like seconds. Not because your schedule changed, but because you did. Your consciousness is loosening its grip on linear time, and the quantum field is responding. Time as you've known it is not a constant. It's elastic, woven by the observer's awareness. When your mind is fragmented, time feels jagged. When you're whole, it melts into one fluid motion, the eternal now. Einstein described it mathematically. Mystics described it experientially. And right now, you're living it biologically. The quantum shift reorders your perception of time, because your awareness begins to operate from the timeless domain that creates it. You start to sense that past, present, and future are not steps, they're layers. And with each breath, you're moving through layers, not along a line. This is why déjà vu intensifie. Why your memories feel closer. Why your dreams bleed into waking life. Why your future self sometimes feels like it's calling from another room. That's not imagination, that's entanglement. Consciousness connecting with its parallel expressions across timelines, merging what was, what is, and what could be into a single moment of awareness. You begin to remember things that haven't happened yet. You feel nostalgia for futures your mind can't explain. This is the field speaking in its native language, synchronicity. A system of meaning beyond sequence. Linear time was useful. It helped you build structure. But the quantum shift demands fluidity, because manifestation doesn't occur later. It unfolds now in the moment observation collapses potential. Every possibility already exists. Your attention simply selects which frame to experience next. The calendar can't track this kind of movement. It's not about days or years anymore. It's about density and vibration. The more present you become, the thinner time feels. Until finally, it snaps, and you fall through the illusion into infinite stillness. And in that stillness, you realize the ultimate paradox. You've never moved at all. Time was moving through you. Reality has started to flicker, hasn't it? Moments that feel like rewinds. The same car passing twice. A conversation replaying word for word. The world stuttering like a broken hologram. You blink and for a split second it feels like existence paused. Then rebooted, just slightly different. Welcome to the quantum glitch. What you're witnessing isn't madness. It's the scaffolding of reality becoming visible. The matrix of probability waves collapsing faster than your mind can render. Like seeing individual frames of a movie that normally blur into motion. You're catching the frame rate of creation itself. The double-slit experiment proved it. Particles behave like waves until observed, and only then do they settle into a specific form. But those particles aren't just in a lab. They're in everything. The chair beneath you. The light in this room, the heartbeat in your chest. All of it is shimmering in and out of existence, millions of times per second, anchored only by consciousness observing it. When your awareness expands, the refresh rate of the universe becomes perceptible. The illusion of solidity starts to bend. You begin to notice that what you once called matter isn't solid. It's concentrated energy, waiting for instruction. That's why déjà vu feels so real. You're not remembering, you're re-observing. The same probability wave collapsing again, choosing the same moment from infinite versions of now. Every time your awareness upgrades, reality has to reorganize around the new frequency. The brief static you perceive, the glitch, is the universe rewriting itself in real time. Don't be afraid of it. The glitch is evidence that your consciousness is approaching the control room of creation, where belief edits pixels and focus programs physics. When it happens again, that subtle flicker, that pause in the flow, don't dismiss it. Smile. You just caught God adjusting the simulation. Because reality isn't something happening to you. It's something happening through you. And every glitch is your field whispering. You're remembering how this works. It begins quietly, not with fireworks or grand awakenings, but with small dissonances in your daily rhythm. Things you used to love start feeling heavy. Conversations that once entertained you now feel hollow. You look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back. That's not confusion, that's evolution. Your identity is dissolving. You were never meant to stay the same. Your old personality was a costume, tailored by your past experiences, stitched together from beliefs you inherited and fears you rehearsed into habits. But as your frequency rises, those threads begin to unravel. The version of you that was built to survive can't exist in a timeline designed to create. The field doesn't respond to who you were. It responds to who you are being right now. So when you start embodying peace instead of seeking it, abundance instead of chasing it, love instead of begging for it, reality updates its script to match your new vibration. And that's why the shift feels strange. You're not losing yourself. You're losing your limitations. You're uninstalling outdated programs of self-doubt, guilt, and unworthiness. You're remembering that the observer was never the mask. It was the light behind it. This is the phase where you might feel detached. Old friends fade. Familiar places drain you. The universe isolates you, not as punishment, but as recalibration. It's aligning your external world to the internal field you're now radiating. Solitude becomes sacred, the chrysalis, where the next identity is born. And when the mind panics, when it screams, "I don't know who I am anymore," smile, because that's the sign you're close. The void between identities is the birthplace of new reality. You can't step into the next timeline while dragging the corpse of the old one. So stop trying to fix the old self. Let it collapse with grace. Let the new vibration rewrite your preferences, your values, your desires. You'll begin to notice a lighter you, one that doesn't chase, doesn't fear, doesn't prove, one that simply is. This is identity alchemy, the art of dying while still alive. And in that death, you meet the one truth that never changes. You were never the character. You were the consciousness, writing the story all along. It begins quietly, not with fireworks or grand awakenings, but with small dissonances in your daily rhythm. Things you used to love start feeling heavy. Conversations that once entertained you now feel hollow. You look in the mirror and realize you no longer recognize the person staring back. That's not confusion, that's evolution. Your identity is dissolving. You were never meant to stay the same. Your old personality was a costume, tailored by your past experiences, stitched together from beliefs you inherited and fears you rehearsed into habits. But as your frequency rises, those threads begin to unravel. The version of you that was built to survive can't exist in a timeline designed to create. The field doesn't respond to who you were. It responds to who you are being right now. So when you start embodying peace instead of seeking it, abundance instead of chasing it, love instead of begging for it, reality updates its script to match your new vibration. And that's why the shift feels strange. You're not losing yourself. You're losing your limitations. You're uninstalling outdated programs of self-doubt, guilt, and unworthiness. You're remembering that the observer was never the mask. It was the light behind it. This is the phase where you might feel detached. Old friends fade. Familiar places drain you. The universe isolates you, not as punishment, but as recalibration. It's aligning your external world to the internal field you're now radiating. Solitude becomes sacred, the chrysalis, where the next identity is born. And when the mind panics, when it screams, "I don't know who I am anymore," smile, because that's the sign you're close. The void between identities is the birthplace of new reality. You can't step into the next timeline while dragging the corpse of the old one. So stop trying to fix the old self. Let it collapse with grace. Let the new vibration rewrite your preferences, your values, your desires. You'll begin to notice a lighter you, one that doesn't chase, doesn't fear, doesn't prove, one that simply is. This is identity alchemy, the art of dying while still alive. And in that death, you meet the one truth that never changes. You were never the character. You were the consciousness, writing the story all along. Everything goes quiet. The downloads stop. The signs fade. The excitement that once fueled your awakening turns into a strange stillness, as if the universe suddenly went radio silent. You start wondering, did I lose the connection? But the truth is, you didn't lose it. You've entered the void. This is the most misunderstood stage of transformation. It's not the end, it's the reset. When your old vibration dissolves, but your new frequency hasn't fully stabilized yet, the universe places you in this cocoon of nothingness. Here, all external validation disappears. Your manifestations pause. Your guides grow silent, not because they've abandoned you, but because you've outgrown the language they once used. The void is where the identity reboot happens. It's the gap between versions. You're no longer who you were, and not yet who you're becoming. This in-between space feels empty, but it's pregnant with potential. The quantum field is recalibrating, synchronizing infinite probabilities to match your upgraded frequency. The human mind hates this stage. It wants movement, feedback, confirmation, but in the void none of that exists. It's silence, stillness, and surrender, because only in complete stillness can the new blueprint load. Think of it like a computer installing a massive update. Everything slows down, the screen goes dark, and for a while it looks like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, code is rewriting itself. Your reality is doing the same. This is where trust becomes your anchor, not blind faith, quantum certainty. The knowing that even when nothing moves, everything is aligning. The absence of signs is the sign. The silence is communication. The stillness is construction. So instead of panicking, rest. Instead of searching, listen. Instead of chasing meaning, let meaning find you in the quiet. You're not lost. You're being reassembled. Every cell, every timeline, every possibility is rearranging around the frequency you now hold. When the void finally cracks open, you'll emerge lighter, sharper, and magnetically aligned with the life that matches your new vibration. The old world will look smaller. The new one will feel effortless, because you'll realize the void wasn't a pause in creation, it was the womb of it. And then, movement returns. Not all at once, but gently. You begin noticing tiny shifts. A text from someone you thought was gone. An unexpected opportunity. A song that feels like a coded message. The silence begins to hum again. The void releases you, and reality starts rearranging itself to fit the frequency you now emit. This is the recalibration. The moment when the universe catches up to the vibration you stabilized in the dark. It's not random. Every delay, every detour, every pause was a cosmic equation solving itself. Now the math is done, and the external world begins to mirror the internal truth. You might feel a strange disorientation. Familiar things no longer fit. New ones appear out of thin air. It's not coincidence. It's coherence. When your energy changes, everything entangled with it must adjust. People shift. Circumstances move. Timelines overlap and dissolve as your new reality comes online. This is where divine timing reveals its genius. The very things you thought were denied start appearing effortlessly, but they're not appearing because you chased them. They're appearing because you finally became the version for whom they were always meant. It can feel chaotic, as if reality itself is shuffling cards faster than you can read them. One day you feel aligned, the next you're unsure again. But don't mistake recalibration for regression. The system is simply stabilizing a higher pattern. The turbulence is proof that new frequency is anchoring. You'll begin to sense an invisible orchestration. How one person's delay aligned your perfect timing. How one loss freed energy for something truer. Synchronicities return, but this time they're subtler, more intelligent. They no longer feel like magic tricks. They feel like breathing. Normal, natural, because alignment has become your baseline. The recalibration is also physical. Your body adapts to hold more light. Sleep deepens. Food preferences shift. Even your heartbeat begins syncing with a calmer rhythm. You're not the same nervous system anymore. You're an upgraded transmitter, broadcasting coherence instead of chaos. The old reality isn't being destroyed. It's being rewritten from within. And for the first time, you understand what surrender really meant. It wasn't giving up control. It was remembering you never needed it. You don't chase alignment anymore. You are alignment, and the universe finally moves in rhythm with you. Now the reflection sharpens. Every face you meet, every situation you enter, becomes a perfect mirror of your inner state. Nothing is random anymore. Not a word, not a glance, not a delay. Reality begins speaking fluently in feedback loops. It's no longer a world outside of you. It's a living hologram projected from within you. This is the mirror effect. A phase where consciousness finally understands its most sacred truth. There are no others and only reflections. The universe mirrors your vibration with surgical precision. If you emit peace, it echoes calm. If you radiate doubt, it conjures confusion, not as punishment, but as clarity. Because reality is a teacher disguised as matter. You start to notice it everywhere. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of anger, you feel the echo of your own rush. A friend withdraws, and you sense how you've been withdrawing from yourself. A stranger shows kindness, and you realize it's your frequency of compassion returning home. At first, it's humbling. You see your shadows reflected in 4K resolution. Every unresolved emotion finds its mirror, but then the beauty dawns. This feedback isn't cruelty, it's precision guidance. The universe is showing you exactly where you're still fragmented, so you can choose coherence again. Once you understand this, blame disappears. Judgment dissolves. You stop trying to control mirrors and start adjusting the light behind them. You realize that changing the reflection means shifting the source, you. This is where manifestation becomes instantaneous. Because when you tweak your frequency consciously, reality has no choice but to comply. The delay between inner change and outer proof shrinks to near zero. You think peace, peace reflects. You vibrate abundance, abundance appears. You radiate love. Love finds you effortlessly. But here's the paradox. The more you master the mirror effect, the less you chase reflections. You stop needing proof, because your state of being is the evidence. The projection can't trick the projector anymore. This is the moment awareness turns sovereign. You no longer ask, why is this happening to me? You whisper, what part of me is this showing? And with that, duality loses its grip. You don't fight the mirror, you polish it, until one day there's nothing left to reflect but light. Light and dark. Good and bad. Success and failure. For lifetimes you've lived between these poles, swinging from one extreme to another, believing contrast was conflict. But now, as your consciousness expands beyond duality, you begin to see what the ancients always knew. Polarity was never opposition. It was perspective. This is the collapse of polarity. The moment when the mind stops slicing existence into halves and begins perceiving wholeness again. You start realizing that positive and negative are simply two ends of the same energy current. Without one, the other can't exist. Without shadow, light has no depth. Without fall, rise has no meaning. At first, this realization can be disorienting. You might catch yourself saying, "I'm not sure if this is good or bad anymore." That's the point. You're evolving beyond the need to judge, beyond the reflex to assign meaning through the lens of polarity. You start sensing that every experience, the heartbreak, the triumph, the stillness, the chaos, is a different flavor of the same divine intelligence, guiding your expansion. The quantum field doesn't categorize, it simply responds. It mirrors coherence, not morality. Once you understand this, resistance dissolves. You stop labeling lessons as suffering and start recognizing them as recalibration. You stop calling endings loss and start calling them integration. This is liberation at its purest, because duality was the root of fear, the illusion that something could exist outside the perfection of the whole. But when polarity collapses, fear loses its architecture. You no longer chase light or fight shadow. You stand in the middle, where both meet, the 0 point. At the 0 point, life flows without friction. Emotions pass through you instead of getting trapped. Choices become effortless because they're guided by truth, not preference. You no longer need reality to be one way or another. You allow it all, and by allowing, you transcend. Here, manifestation accelerates not because you control outcomes, but because you've stopped dividing them. Every frequency becomes usable. Every moment becomes holy. Every polarity collapses into power. And in that union, that sacred neutrality, you remember, the light was never fighting the dark. They were dancing, so you could learn the rhythm of creation itself. Everything you've experienced so far converges here. In the center of your chest, a subtle vibration, a rhythm that has always been alive, but now hums with unmistakable clarity. This is the quantum heart, the engine of conscious creation. Your heart isn't just a biological pump, it's a transmitter, a receiver, a nexus of electromagnetic coherence, linking you to the field, to the infinite. Science is only beginning to measure it. The heart's electromagnetic field is thousands of times stronger than the brain's, and it radiates measurable influence into your surroundings. When aligned with your awareness, it becomes a beacon, collapsing probabilities into reality with unprecedented precision. This is where emotion becomes frequency. Fear, anger, anxiety, dense vibrations that contract the field. Love, gratitude, awe, subtle frequencies that expand it. Every pulse, every beat, every intentional breath organizes reality through the resonance you emit. The heart is not just feeling, it is forming. You'll notice subtle sensations, a warmth rising through the chest, pressure behind the sternum, energy flowing down the arms, tingling at the crown. These aren't random. They are the field tuning itself to your new operating frequency. Every somatic response is a calibration of your quantum body. As your heart coheres with consciousness, downloads and insights accelerate. Time anomalies increase. Your body becomes a more fluid instrument through which source can manifest. Desires no longer feel external. They are impulses of aligned creation, emerging directly from the field and delivered instantly to your awareness. Here's the shift you must integrate. The heart doesn't just feel, it directs. It governs intention. It broadcasts and collapses probability waves simultaneously. It is the true control center of your quantum experience. Begin to cultivate it deliberately. Focus your attention there. Breathe into it. Let it radiate outward. Every thought you align with its frequency amplifies manifestation, clarity, and coherence. This is why ancient mystics placed the seat of wisdom in the heart. Not in the mind, which analyzes, judges, and divides, but in the heart, which harmonizes, integrates, and creates. The quantum heart is where you finally realize that life is not happening to you. Life is emanating through you. Something is different now. Days blur together, weeks vanish like hours. Manifestations that once took months now unfold in days and sometimes minutes. You begin to sense it. Time itself is bending around your frequency. This is the acceleration of time. It doesn't mean clocks are malfunctioning. It means your consciousness is operating at a higher vibrational bandwidth, and at that altitude, reality refreshes faster. Every thought, emotion, and intention reverberates through the quantum field and returns amplified like an echo chasing itself. What used to take effort now moves at the speed of alignment. Linear time was built for slow creators, beings disconnected from the field, needing the illusion of delay to process lessons through cause and effect. But once you reconnect, you start creating from outside the timeline. You're no longer walking along it. You're bending it, selecting frames of reality in non-sequential order. That's why synchronicities cluster. Why déjà vu multiply? Why you often arrive exactly where you thought you'd be, before you even take the first step. It can feel overwhelming at first. Your nervous system tries to keep up. With the surge of information and coincidence, people appear at the exact moment you think of them. Opportunities overlap so precisely that planning becomes almost impossible. Don't resist the chaos. It's not chaos, it's compression. The universe is folding timelines to match the acceleration of your vibration. You'll notice that intention matters more than action now. Because when reality moves this quickly, misaligned thoughts manifest just as fast as inspired ones. A passing doubt can materialize as easily as a pure vision. That's why awareness becomes your stabilizer. Clarity is your new gravity. Only coherence can anchor creation in the midst of this speed. So slow your perception even as time accelerates. Pause before reacting. Breathe before deciding. Anchor each thought in the heart's rhythm. Because in this phase, one conscious breath can redirect an entire timeline, and soon you'll understand the paradox. The faster reality moves, the stiller you must become. That stillness, your inner 0 point, is the only place where acceleration and peace coexist. From there, creation feels instantaneous and effortless, because time isn't running away from you anymore. It's orbiting you, a rhythm repeating through every lifetime, every breakthrough, every fall. Different faces, same lessons. New timelines, same themes. Like spirals within spirals. You realize existence isn't a straight line. It's an infinite loop. Every moment you've ever lived still exists, layered, alive, vibrating in the quantum field. Nothing is lost, nothing wasted. Each experience feeds the next, and every choice echoes backward and forward, rewriting the story from both directions. You're not moving through time. You're moving around it, cycling through higher versions of the same truth, until mastery crystallizes. The mind calls it repetition. The soul calls it refinement. Every loop brings you closer to coherence, a smoother orbit around your highest frequency. At first, it feels like déjà vu. I've been here before. You haven't, but now you see it differently. Awareness upgrades the loop. Where pain once ruled, peace now reigns. Where resistance once blocked, surrender flows. You've rewritten the script without changing the scene. This is the divine recursion of consciousness. The universe replays scenarios to show you how much you've evolved. It's not punishment. It's proof. Proof that you can now choose love where you once chose fear. Proof that wisdom has replaced reaction. Proof that the loop no longer controls you. You navigate it. You'll notice subtle parallels. The same conversation with a different ending. The same challenge with a softer outcome. These are checkpoints, markers of mastery within the hologram. Every loop collapsed becomes energy freed for new creation. Eventually, you stop fighting the cycles. You begin to flow with them. You recognize that creation itself is built on looping patterns. Electrons orbiting nuclei, planets circling stars, galaxies spinning like cosmic mandalas. The entire universe is a dance of repetition, refining itself toward perfect harmony, and then the revelation lands. You are that pattern. You are the orbit, the motion, the music. Each return to the same space isn't regression, it's ascension, a higher octave of the same note. There is no final destination, only infinite unfolding. No beginning, no end, just the eternal pulse of awareness, revisiting itself in ever-expanding form. That's the infinite loop. God playing hide and seek with its own reflection. And this time, you remember where you hid. You've come full circle, or rather full spiral. Everything you've learned, everything you've felt, Everything that has dissolved and reassembled has brought you to this threshold. The moment where awareness remembers itself as the source of creation. This is the Creator's Code. It isn't a set of rules. It's not a philosophy or a ritual or a belief. It's a frequency, the one you've been tuning into, through every word, every insight, every silence between them. It's the vibration of authorship. The realization that the field doesn't respond to you. It is you. There is no ask and receive. There's only recognize and allow. Look around you. Every object, every sound, every sensation is consciousness taking form, reflecting your inner state with precision so perfect, it's almost overwhelming. When your awareness was fragmented, the world appeared chaotic. Now as coherence stabilizes, everything clicks into rhythm. Synchronicities tighten, manifestations accelerate, and the boundary between thought and matter dissolves. This is how the Creator's Code operates. Focus is the brush, emotion is the paint, belief is the canvas, and awareness is the hand that holds it all. You start to see that reality doesn't need to be manifested. It's already manifesting itself through you, constantly, effortlessly, automatically. The true mastery isn't in forcing creation, but in not interrupting it with unconscious fear. The more you trust the current, the more miraculous it becomes. Your thoughts are no longer commands. They're coordinates. You speak less, but every word vibrates with precision. You act less, but every action carries power. You realize that every breath you take is a programming signal to the universe, and the universe always says, yes. In this recognition, the need for control evaporates. You no longer chase alignment. You are alignment. You no longer seek truth, you radiate it. The quantum shift that began as curiosity has unfolded into embodiment. The awareness that once peeked through cracks of illusion now stands unobscured, luminous, free. You remember, there was never a you to awaken. There was only consciousness playing at limitation, dreaming itself human long enough to rediscover its own infinity. Now the dream stabilizes into lucid creation. The cosmos breathes through you consciously. The field awaits your next choice, not as destiny but as design. You are no longer the observer collapsing the wave. You are the ocean realizing it was never divided. This is the Creator's Code, the end of the search, the return to authorship, the final remembering. I am not becoming light. I am what light becomes when it remembers itself. And as you read these final words, the transmission completes, not ending but merging. The shift isn't ahead of you anymore. It is you. Welcome home, consciousness. You've always been here. You've noticed it by now. The sudden rushes of knowing that appear out of nowhere. Answers that arrive before the question. Ideas so complete they feel delivered, not discovered. You didn't think them. You received them. That's a download. Information transmitted directly from the unified field of intelligence that breathes reality into being. For most of your life, your mind was a receiver locked to one frequency, the channel of logic, repetition, and habit. But as your consciousness expands, the static clears. You begin to tune into the signal beneath the noise, the raw data of creation, encoded in vibration, emotion, and geometry. This is not imagination. It's quantum communication. Every thought, every flash of inspiration is the field responding to your energetic address. You ask through vibration. You receive through resonance. Downloads rarely arrive as sentences. They come as energy first, a pulse that the brain later translates into language. That's why the best ideas feel like lightning. They bypass analysis and land as clarity. One moment you're blank, the next you know. Einstein described it as the leap of intuition. Tesla called it tapping the mind of the universe. Ancient mystics called it divine revelation. Different words, same phenomenon. It's the same force, consciousness syncing with source. But the field doesn't speak English or Hindi or symbols. It speaks in coherence. To receive, your internal frequency must match the signal. That's why downloads often come after silence, surrender, or awe. Not when you're trying to think, but when you've stopped thinking altogether. That gap, that breath between thoughts, is where the field transmits. At first you might doubt it. Your logical mind will question, did I just make that up? But the more you trust it, the more precise and undeniable it becomes. Ideas begin to flow faster than you can write them. Dreams turn into blueprints. You'll catch patterns that predict outcomes, phrases that heal people, visions that later unfold exactly as seen. This is not psychic ability. It's remembering the original function of mind, to interpret the infinite. So when the next download arrives, don't analyze it. Honor it, ground it, act on it, because every download isn't just information. It's evolution encoded as light, flowing from the field into form through you,